Hello, hello, and welcome to Elementary. So today I am so excited to be interviewing my guest. Now we talk about home inspectors and then we'll talk about home inspectors. So not every home inspector is created equal. And when you're choosing a home inspector, you need to understand that this is your largest asset you'll probably buy, or your second largest if this is not your final home. And choosing a home inspector is of utmost importance. So today, we're excited to get started, and my guest is going to ask me to join any minute now. And home inspectors are to your home purchasing. There you are.
Hey, Jacqueline, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
beautiful. No problem.
So excited. So to get started and
Yeah.
to interview you again.
Again, our second time.
Again, thank you. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to get started. So let's, maybe just start with your Instagram handle.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is Darin.inspects, Darin.inspects.abuyer's choice.
Yes, it's a long one.
Yeah, it's a
right?
long one. Yeah, exactly.
And so tell everybody who you are, what do you do, a little bit about your business.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Darin from Abuyer's Choice Home Inspections. So we are a franchise, Canada's largest franchise right now. We probably have over 200 inspectors from coast to coast, and we've also expanded down to the States as well, and we have some franchises in other countries. We've been around since 2007. I myself operate in the Durham region, so I own a franchise out here in Durham. But I also serve, all the GTA, GTA East, and Durham, and kind of all surrounding areas. So, we provide all kinds of home inspections, conditional home inspections, which seem to be coming back, which seems to be the number one type of inspections we're doing now, which is exciting. But, we also do post-closing inspections, pre-listing inspections for the sellers. We do sort of, pre-offer walkthrough inspections. We did a lot of those last year because people couldn't get inspections done. So it was sort of, it was a pre-offer inspection that was kind of designed to sort of give the buyer some comfort. And we do some radon testing, and I'm working towards getting wet inspected, so I'll be able to do fireplace, wet technology inspection soon, which is exciting to bring to me next year. So yeah, lots of exciting things happening.
So that's exciting. Yeah, especially the wet inspection, right? Because a lot of times you have to go to two different people to get that done. So
yeah, and that's why I kind of wanted to, once I sort of, ran the home inspection for a while, get a better understanding, that, and then I wanted to move into wet because it really complements each other. I mean, we do a lot of, a lot of cottages, a lot of properties around the Kawartha Lakes areas that have fireplaces. So, it's nice now you can kind of do the 2-in-1 rather than calling two different companies out. Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, even the older properties, right? They still have some of those wood burning fireplaces.
Yeah, and it's mostly about the standalone fireplaces, right? I mean, sometimes the ones that are already built in, insurance companies may not ask you for wet because they're kind of built in a part of the house already, but it's the freestanding standalone because then they got they got all these dimensions they got to be far, away from combustible items.
Yeah. Oops. You're cutting out a bit. So tell me a little bit about what inspired you. I think you're circling. There you go. If you're saying something, you're cutting out. Oops, I'm really sorry. Sometimes we have technical difficulties, and it happens. Can you hear me now? Looks like you're frozen. And you don't have any signal. Can you hear me now? Oops. Darin, we are losing connection. So I'm not sure if you can hear me, but possibly like rejoin.
Okay.
Ah, he's gone. He'll be back. So just bear with us. Sometimes these things happen. He's on the road and he was just finishing up a home inspection. But I do want to thank all of you for taking some time. Sometimes we have a little bit of technical difficulties, but we just work through it. He's back. Give him a minute. There you are.
Yeah, sorry. You know, I'm in the country. I'm in like Little Britain, just north of Scugog. So I just finished an inspection. I'm probably not in the best area, so I apologize if we get cut out again.
No worries. We'll get through it.
Yeah.
So let me ask, what inspired you to get into becoming a home inspector or into home inspections?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, so, I was in management and customer service for probably over 20 years. And, it was one of those things where and kind of COVID was starting and things were changing and kind of, I needed a change at the time. I was getting tired of, kind of what I was doing, and I wanted to, get into sort of entrepreneurship and get into sort of running my own business rather than, me having a boss and managing all these people. I kind of want to start on my own and kind of grow that sort of the pace that I wanted to grow. And home inspections kind of complemented the business that I was in before. I knew a lot about homes and dealt with home builders and custom home builders and high-rise builders in my past, and so I already had some knowledge on that. And, it was sort of a low overhead to kind of run this business. You run out of my house, you need some tools to get started, get your training done. And it was a good life balance. So that's kind of what I chose. And I figured this kind of kept in sort of the umbrella of kind of what I knew a little bit already. There's always tons to learn, obviously. But I kind of, like I said, I was kind of around home building for a long time. So I was not a stranger to the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it had a good customer service aspect. And I've been doing customer service for a long time as well. So
yeah, and that's so important, right?
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
what? Tell us a little bit about your home inspection process.
Yeah, sure. So, obviously there's a lot to cover in a short amount of time. You've got a few hours to kind of cover the whole house and all the moving parts. So, it's important that you have sort of
questions.
Yeah, and a lot of questions that you go, exactly. There's a lot of questions. So you kind of have to manage the process, so to speak, and kind of, and there's a flow. You got to have to follow the flow the same way every time if you want to get through everything in a timely fashion and be able to explain as you go. You kind of have to have a way to do it every single time, and you got to follow that. Otherwise, it's very easy to get pulled in different directions, right? So you kind of have to control the situation, I guess. But I always start on the exterior first. You kind of go left to right, go around, and then you do the roof, and then you go to the basement. You kind of look at the HVAC systems, electrical panel, and then you start in the basement, and then you kind of work your way up, and then you add in everybody's favorite place, the attic, which is my my last place to go. Or sometimes it's the crawl space, depending. If there's a crawl space, you get pretty dirty there, so usually I'll do that last as well. So if the place has a crawl space, so.
So what would a home buyer or seller expect to receive from you as part of the home inspection?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, they get first and foremost, they get a full digital report, laid out nicely, very easy to read. So, it starts off, it's got a summary, which is the very first section, anything important, safety related, something that you want to give to, bring to the buyer's attention. You don't want them to lose it throughout the rest of the report. You kind of have it in the summary section, which is in red. And then the rest of the report is got minor repairs, maintenance items, information and stuff. So, so the very first part of the summary is very important because that's the stuff you don't want them to lose sight of, and to help them kind of fix the most important things first, right? And then for the buyers, we offer a nice warranty package. So it's a 90-day limited warranty designed to cover them, between offer acceptance, and when they move in, which is roughly about 90 days, if anything were to happen, plumbing leaks, we have roof leak coverage, sewer backup, mold, visible mold discovery. So we got a nice little warranty package that helps cover the buyer within those 90 days. Because things happen, they move out, all of a sudden when the house is, moved out, oh my God, a little patch of mold now has been discovered, or now the kitchen sink is leaking. So we got some nice coverage through our warranty program, and then we also do a safety recall check on all the appliances. So we take all the serial numbers, we put them in a database, and the buyer gets a monthly update. If there's been any safety recalls, they'll be notified. And as they buy new appliances, they can keep adding it to the report. So they can keep adding it and keep building and building and building it. It just keeps coming out every month, which is nice. For as long as they, live in the house, it just keeps coming. So.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the highest ticketed items that a buyer needs to be aware of when they're buying a house?
Sure. Yeah. So, some of the big things, and this is kind of when we do the walkthroughs, when we were doing a lot of them last year, we were looking at the main things because we wanted to make sure we covered the main important areas that could cost a lot of money. So, your HVAC systems, your air conditioning and furnace, you want to know how old they are because, yeah, they might be working, but if they're 15, 20 years old, they may not have been serviced for a whole bunch of years, which means you got to get them serviced and they may not be running to as efficiency as they should be. And you don't want them to break down in November. So if you knew how old they were, you can help budget for them, right? So, they're, you're anywhere from, $5,000 to $10,000, right, to get a pair of those. Electrical panel, if you got old fuses, old obsolete panels, you probably want to upgrade those to get all the nice new safety features that the new panels come with. So that's, $2,500 to $5,000 for that. Roof, most important. That's what covers you, keeps you dry. So your roof, depending on the size of your house, you're probably anywhere from $5,600 to $12,000 for a new roof. So that's good to know if you need one of those. And then, foundation, right? I mean, obviously, if you've got some foundation leaks, if you need to do some waterproofing, that's a big expense. That could be, exterior waterproofing around one side or two sides could be 20, 30 grand, to do that. So, it's important to understand the foundation, the condition of the foundation too, as well. So that could be pretty pricey.
Yeah. And, I wanted to say to those of you watching, if you have questions, there is a little question icon that you can drop the questions in. Or you can just put it in the comment section and we'll try and follow along just in case you have any questions as well. I wanted to talk about foundation. And so what is one piece of advice that you would give a buyer about foundation?
Grading. And downspouts. Everything around the foundation. Foundations aren't boats. They're not meant to hold water around them, right? No matter, I know the big chunks of concrete, but through settling and that, they get little cracks. They get little, especially block foundation, right? They get in the mortar, they get little cracks in that. So they're not meant to hold water. So you got to make sure you've got proper grading. Your downspouts from the eaves troughs down from the roof are there to start, and B, they have extensions to make sure that all that water coming down goes away from the foundation. That is, the most important thing. Otherwise, you're gonna, if you don't have that, eventually there's gonna be a leak eventually. So, you want to make sure your foundation. I mean, foundations have very common is to have these vertical cracks, which usually happens through the concrete curing process. Mm-hmm. So those are common. But you still want to seal those up. You still don't want any cracks in your foundation. You still want to seal them up as well. But the big thing is grading and your downspouts. And if you have interlock patio or stones around the house as well, which are nice features. But again, we're in Canada, right? I mean, the freeze thaw action through the wintertime, they move, the ground moves. So what's going to happen eventually is the stones are going to eventually move. And depending how they're put in, when landscapers put in patio stones, you've got to go down about a foot. You got to put gravel. You got to pound it. You got to put screening. You got to compact it. You got to put the stone. Then you got to compact it again. So if it's not done right, then it's going to move more than it should. And then what'll happen is it may start to do a negative, right, slope towards the foundation. So that's important to make sure you're always monitoring that as well. So.
Yeah, and then let's talk about hiring. In some of the older properties, there might be some tricky wiring. So what would you give? Like, what advice would you give a home buyer when it comes into wiring and what to look for? Or I can't. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Oh,
Yes, go ahead.
okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, you go way back in the day, you've got, knob and tube wiring, which, maybe some in service in old homes in Toronto, but for the most part, you don't find much of them in service. At least I don't anyway. But then you've got, your copper, then you've got your aluminum wiring, which is the big talk, aluminum wiring, which it's still active in a lot of homes. Between the 60s and 70s, that's when aluminum wiring was mostly used because the price of copper was very expensive. So, which, and aluminum was a good conductor, but they found that it was oxidizing, so they would come loose at their connection points. So during a real estate transaction, the insurance company knows that if there's aluminum wiring, or you tell them there's aluminum wiring, they're going to ask for a licensed electrician to come. He's got to just come and double check the connection points are tight. He's got to make sure the outlets are copper aluminum compatible, or if they're not, then they got to be what's called pigtailed. You got to put a piece of copper that you pigtailed to the aluminum wiring to the socket. So they got to come and check that, and then other than that, I mean, you can still use aluminum wiring. It's just got to be checked for safety. You may pay a little premium to your insurance company possibly because you have it. That's about it. Otherwise, majority of the wiring should be copper anyway.
Yeah. Or they can, set aside some funds to rewire the home as well, right?
Well, yeah, and so normally if you have aluminum wiring, if you finish the basement, they're going to put copper in anyway. So a lot of times you find half and half anyway. So if they did a renovation, you're going to find half aluminum and half copper. So anytime they do an update, they'll be using copper.
So I think you've touched on this next question I wanted to ask you, but I'll ask you anyways because I think it's a ton of it's good. It's a good. In case you're wondering why I'm repeating myself, I'm getting a lot of feedback on my end. I can hear myself talking, so I'm really sorry because I feel like a fool. Anyhow. So when it comes down to customer service, how do you ensure that clients get the highest quality of service?
So it always starts from the beginning, communication, being available. So I'm very, I think I find myself very, I respond very quickly. So I think it's important that you respond very quickly, answer all the questions they have, treat everybody equally with respect when you're talking to them or when you're on site with them, answer the questions, be available, even after the inspection, in questions like we offer free technical advice, which is a huge one. So even if nobody's even used me before, I mean, I offer technical advice to anybody. Anybody ever has questions? Any agents have any questions? Send me a text, send me a picture. I'm more than happy to help anybody out answer any questions. Because I'm sure there's tons of times where, especially a lot of the newer agents, when you're on site, you don't know what's what. You see all these different things in homes. You're kind of looking around and go, what the heck, that what the heck moment, right? You've never seen that before. And you don't know, and your buyer's kind of asking you, and you're not quite sure. I'm always open for anybody to sort of send me a text and send me a picture or give me a call and ask me, what things are about. Very, very, very happy to help out whenever I can.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And what advice would you give people looking for a home inspector in that case?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously like any industry, it's very competitive, lots of home inspectors, but I will say, I think when you're looking for any certified home inspector has to be a member of an association. So that's number one. You're going to have to look for a seal. So we at A Buyer's Choice, majority of us, at least in Canada, are part of INTRNACHI, which is the International Home Inspectors. Canada has their own, Canadian Association of Home Inspectors, and Ontario has their own as well. So you'll find either one in here, probably a member of either one of those three. And then I think the American has another one as well. So there is a bunch of them. But when you are looking for a home inspector, I know Google reviews are important. Everyone looks for Google reviews, so you can definitely check that and see what agents, if there's any agent partners that have let you review, you can see what they're saying, you can see what clients are saying. But to make sure you're getting a certified home inspector, definitely make sure that they are a part of an association.
Excellent. That's excellent. So let's chat about your pre-inspection because you didn't mention it. And I actually want to bring it up because I had the opportunity to take a look at one.
Okay.
I showed one of the agents' listings, and they had used you for a property, and I was impressed. So let's talk about the pre-inspection. I think
for sure.
Excellent.
My favorite. Yeah. So, pre-listing inspection is the same as any inspection. We do the same thing, but obviously this is for the seller. And I think it's advantageous for many different reasons. I think a pre-listing inspection, you're doing it for the seller. So specifically in this market we'll continue to turn in this market where more buyers are buying homes conditionally with inspections, right? Not everywhere, but for the most part, a lot more are. So, the buyer, obviously this is the old traditional way, the buyer, gets property 5 days, sometimes 2 days, 3 days nowadays. Sometimes they're trying to speed up the process and trying to, take advantage and try to speed up and do a quicker one. But let's say an average 5-day inspection. So now the seller's got to wait. And then let's say there's problems. And now you got a negotiation. So now you got to negotiate. Now that may take a little longer. So a pre-listing is designed to kind of avoid all that. So now you've done a pre-listing ahead of time for the seller. It's available for any prospective buyer to see. And you're now as a listing agent with the seller, you're going to price it appropriately. Let's just say I do pre-listing and I did one last week and need a new roof. Okay, well, you're going to price the property accordingly. Now you know what it needs, a new roof, and you're going to price it that way. So the whole point of it, and not only that, but now the seller can actually do some repairs if he likes to. A lot of times I do pre-listings weeks in advance, right? So now the seller can do some repairs, fix some stuff up, and as long as it's been fixed, fixed properly, I can go and update the report. I'll go give a fresh report, and that way I'll adjust the items that have been fixed. But now it's designed because like I said, a buyer is going to come with an inspection condition anyway. Let's do one for the seller. Get it ahead of time. They can fix whatever they need to fix. It's there. Any prospective buyer can see the report, and now it's designed to bring more firm offers. So buyers shouldn't feel like they need to do an inspection because it's already been done. Now, the unfortunate part is I do hear from time to time, it's the pre-listing inspection. It's done for the seller. Is it really a good, is the inspection really done properly? And it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, I have a name to uphold, right? I work, company. I got my name everywhere. I'm not doing a report. We do the inspection for the house. Our obligation is to the house and to the house only. And right, we're going to call it as it is. But our reports are pretty nicely done. They're really well laid out. But yeah, sorry, I know I'm kind of rambling on. But the whole point is pre-listings, bring firm offers, speed up the whole process. So now that's done, you should be able to not be able to, go with that condition period now. Now the closing time should be quicker. The sales should be faster. It helps speed everything up a bit. And I think it's important. I think, I'm hoping to see more and more of these happening.
Yeah, and I'm a fan, and I'm definitely a promoter of a pre-listing inspection, even prior to looking at your report. I think every homeowner, especially if you've been in the home for a long time, it takes away all the surprises, at least from us as realtors, and because we're the ones who have to manage all the surprises that come our way, right? And so it takes away those surprises, and it really gives a very transparent look at the home. And people can still do an inspection if they like, but I think it's a great opportunity. And I myself, I'm looking to incorporate more of these. Because sometimes I feel like the home owners are a little hesitant.
Yeah.
Or not a lot hesitant. So
yeah.
So I'm hoping that we can do more education and help them out understand why it's important, right?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, and I think that's a lot of the times where it gets sort of shot down is because the seller doesn't want to do it. The seller doesn't want to. Well, the way I pitch it is, chances are, for the most part, and if the agent probably knows that it's going to probably sell conditionally, well, if it's going to sell conditionally, then guess what? The home inspection is going to happen anyway. So whether we find it beforehand, it's going to get found anyway. So why not just do it ahead of time? You might as well be transparent because it's going to happen. So you might as well just do it now and get it over with and then avoid the whole possible delay, right? In 5-day, clause and so on. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So we're coming to the end of our time, and I want to be able to showcase your business as nicely as possible, and just capture everything. So I'm just wondering, is there anything else I may have missed out you'd like to add, you want to share?
Not really. Just, I'm happy to help anybody out. Like I said, we offer technical support. So anybody, feel free to reach out anytime. I'm always willing to help anytime. If anybody needs a home inspection or has questions or anything about pre-listings, if you want some more information, talk more, feel free to give me a shout as well. I'm always available. I'm always happy to help.
Yeah, that's excellent. And so thank you so much. I so appreciate your time. I know you're very generous with your time every time I ask.
Thanks.
And I'm very appreciative of that. And I'm sure our listeners are as well.
Yeah.
And for all of those listening, thank you for spending your evening, your Monday evening with us. And thanks for watching. And until next week, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jacqueline Watson. I'm a realtor with Suttonwood Tower. And hopefully one day we'll work together.
Yes, I hope so. Thanks, Jacqueline. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.